Hello, I'm Sky Diego, Assistant Director of Leadership Annual Giving at the Busch School of Business at the Catholic University of America. Welcome to this episode of Cardinal Perspectives, a series featuring in-depth conversations with alumni, students, faculty, staff, and the extended family and community of Catholic University. Today, we're featuring a conversation with Dr. Andrew Abela, Dean and Ordinary Professor of Marketing at the Busch School, and Katie Garvey, Assistant Dean of Advancement for the Busch School. Dr. Abela is the founding dean of the Busch School of Business. He is also a faculty affiliate at the Harvard University Human Flourishing Program and a contributor at Forbes.com. His research on the integrity of the marketing process, including marketing ethics, Catholic social doctrine, and internal communication, has been published in several academic journals, including the Journal of Marketing, the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science, the Journal of Business Ethics, the Journal of Markets and Morality, and in 2 books. He's the winner of the Novak Award, a $10,000 prize given by the Acton Institute for significant contributions to the study of the relationship between religion and economic liberty. His 2 most recent books are Super Habits, The Universal System for a Successful Life from Sophia Press, and A Catechism for Business from Catholic University Press. Prior to his academic career, Dr. Abela spent several years in industry as brand manager at Procter & Gamble, management consultant with McKinsey & Company, and managing director of the Marketing Leadership Council of the Corporate Executive Board. He holds a BS from the University of Toronto, an MBA from the Institute for Management Development in Switzerland, and a PhD in Marketing and Ethics from the Darden Business School at the University of Virginia. He and his wife, Kathleen, have 6 children, 3 of whom, so far, have graduated from Catholic University. Let's jump into the interview.
I'm Katie Garvey, Assistant Dean of Advancement here in the Busch School of Business, and with Andrew Abela, the Dean. And actually, Andrew, you were the founding Dean of the Busch School of Business in 2013, is that right?
Correct.
How has the school grown since it was founded in 2013?
So we had already about 300 students when we were before a Department of Business and Economics, part of the School of Arts and Sciences. Now we're around 800 students, so it's grown quite substantially, yeah.
Why did we launch in the first place?
So we started to realize that the Catholic Church has some really amazing teachings related to business and the economy that used to be referred to as the church's best-kept secret, because you couldn't find them anywhere, But it was clear that the world really needed these. But there was no business school that was kind of created explicitly for that, for bringing the treasures of the faith into the business world. And we thought, as the Catholic University of America, as the church's university in the United States, that the church needs a business school. So that's why we did it.
Talk a little bit about those initial dreams and kind of goals that we had set out to do in the first 10 years. And looking back now a dozen or so years later, did we meet those? Where did we fall relative to those initial expectations?
So I think the biggest ambition I can articulate in the words of an undergraduate student after the very first ever CEO lecture that we held around the time of the founding of the school. As you know, we do these monthly. We bring in CEOs talking about the kind of impact of faith in their own business lives. And a student came up to me after this first talk, and he was a theology student, wasn't even a business student. And he said, I was so amazed to find out that you can be a faithful Catholic and be successful in business. It's shocking that people would think that, but they did. But I think in large part, due to the success of the Busch School, that's not as common of a view anymore. I think people start to realize that, hey, okay, this can and does happen. You can be a faithful Christian and be successful in business. So that was, I think, I would say the biggest accomplishment, that we sort of changed the understanding of what it means to be a person of faith in the business world. So that was, big achievement.
Our motto is business is a force for good, and slogan is business is a noble vocation. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that ties in practice to the way that we form and teach our students?
So the phrase a force for good is now so common, a business as a force for good. I would claim we were the first to say that. Now, other business schools make that same claim, but the idea, even up to about a dozen years ago when we were starting, there was still this notion that business was just about profit maximization, and so the idea of a force for good, without in any way contradicting giving a strong return to your shareholders, right? Because if you're not giving a return to your shareholders, then you're not going to be a successful business. You're not going to be around for very much longer.
Be much of a force.
So bringing this together. So Pope Francis came up with this beautiful line, business is a noble vocation. And then he goes on to say, so long as we see in that a kind of a higher meaning. And so we've adopted that. We have a plaque, as you know, in our lobby. It says, business is a noble vocation, Pope Francis. And the higher meaning, we see this in research. We see this in just the wisdom of experienced, successful entrepreneurs that we know. That paradoxically, when you focus on just making money, you may be successful in the short term, but longer term you're not so successful. Whereas when you focus on a higher meaning, a bigger idea, you tend to be more long-term sustainable, even financially sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Love that. It's what attracted me to come and work here, actually. So the Busch School was accredited by the AACSB in April of this past year, 2025. What is the significance of that, and what does it mean for the school?
So I think the significance is very great. So the Association for the Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business is the premier accrediting agency for business schools. And it's different from accreditation. So the Catholic University is an accredited university, have been, right? There's a certain kind of accreditation that you cannot open your doors if you don't have. So obviously we have that, and the Busch School had that as part of Catholic University. AACSB is different from that. It's not required to give a business degree. But what it does is it says you are part of the elite. You are part of the top business schools in the world. Only about 6% of all business schools in the world have AACSB accreditation. It is considered to be the finest level of accreditation for a business school. And so even though we're only 12 years old, we thought if we want to be doing what we say we're doing, provide a world-class education, then we need that accreditation. We don't ever want people to think, oh, somehow that because this is a religious or faith-infused education, that somehow it's like that there's some compromise. Quite the opposite. And so the accreditation gives one level of sort of affirmation that there's no compromise here. So we're on par now with the best business schools in the world, which is super exciting.
And it took us a fair amount of time to get it right.
Oh, it takes years. It takes years of effort. So we were working kind of really hard in the last, I would say, 4 years, but even prior to that, preparing. It's a ton of paperwork. Business people who are familiar with like the ISO 9000 and whatever, it's a similar process to that. Tons of documentation. You have to basically prove that you're up to the standards that AACSB has set. And then it includes a visit by other deans. They come, spend several days here looking under, in all the corners, and talking to students, faculty, staff, and so on, just to make sure that we are top-notch quality. So that was a great achievement, I thought.
In addition to the AACSB accreditation this past year, we've been preparing for and developing our Catholic MBA, which is launching this fall. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what people can expect and how we will be standing out and different from all the other MBAs on the market?
Yeah, so we're very excited about this. This will be the first MBA that is built kind of from the ground up, grounded in a Catholic worldview, and also accredited by AACSB. So we're very excited about that. Prior to this, we had a smaller program we called the Master of Science in Business. What we've done now is we upgraded that program, and it's now a fully fledged MBA starting this fall. The MBA we're labeling as an Emerging Leaders MBA, so it's targeted at people who are either straight out of undergrad or 1 or 2 years out. So it's different from other MBAs you might have heard of, like at Harvard or Stanford, where you're required to have 2 to 5 years of full-time experience. This is more for, particularly if it's open to graduates of undergraduate business programs, but it's also open to liberal arts grads and so on who decide they want to go into business and want an MBA to do that.
So then what's the vision for the MBA program?
I think our vision is to be basically the number one faithfully Catholic MBA program, where there's no compromise between preparing you for a successful career and grounding it in the Catholic faith. So all of the professors teaching the program are people of faith. All of the materials, all of the content is grounded in Catholic social doctrine and faith and the natural law and so on. So there's no compromise at every step of the way. So
That's great. We talked a little bit about who the kind of ideal students are for this MBA as it's currently envisioned for emerging leaders. And as I understand it, there will be sort of a 4+1 aspect of the MBA. Is that right?
Yes. So that's for existing Catholic university students,
Okay.
whether in the business school or whether in any of the other undergraduate schools at Catholic University, whether in, sociology or theology or whatever you wish, undergraduate, they can take courses starting in their junior and senior year, take some of the MBA courses and have them double count for their undergraduate program as well. And so that then they can finish the course in slightly less than a year. So in say 4+1, so 4 years as an undergraduate, 1 year as a graduate, and you've got your MBA as well as your undergraduate degree.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little about the vision for where we're going to grow from here? What are all the different aspects and areas where we may expand just from this current emerging leaders?
Yeah, so within that program, the MBA is designed to be modular so that there are different directions you can take it. And so we're adding modules. So for example, right now we're working on a collaboration with our nursing school where you get a Doctor of Nursing Practice and an MBA, so DNP MBA, for people who want to go into, say, hospital administration. We're working with our law school on a JD MBA, so combine those two degrees. And then we're also thinking about things like a program in not-for-profit administration. So there's a variety of possibilities that we will roll out over the coming years.
That's great. In August of last year, 2024, the university received $1 million grant from Wake Forest through the Lilly Foundation to expand our character building of our undergraduate students through integration of virtues into courses across the campus, across different areas of study, as well as campus ministry, campus life. Can you share a little bit about what the plan is, what's already underway in terms of implementing that grant?
Yeah, so we're very excited about that grant. What the grant allows us to do is take work that we had already been doing in the Busch School and spread it across the entire university. So our university, since the beginning, has been very good at teaching our students about the virtues, right? Those habits of excellence like courage and generosity and friendliness and so on, that are at the heart of all human flourishing. Very good at teaching them about them. But teaching about the virtues is like teaching about swimming. Like here's a video of somebody swimming and here's a diagram and an explanation of how to do the breaststroke, and you never go in the water. Like would you really learn to swim if that were the case? No. And likewise with the virtues, what this program allows us to do is all of the faculty who are participating, there's about 100 of our faculty, so this is enough to reach every single one of our undergraduate students across all of Catholic universities. We embed within the course curriculum opportunities to practice different virtues like resilience or gratitude or generosity as part of doing their schoolwork. So they're building these habits that are going to be that are ultimately the components, the content of our character, as Martin Luther King said. The virtues, these habits of excellence are the content of our character. So we're giving our students opportunities to practice these.
Do you have any for instances that you can give?
Yeah, examples that we've done in the Busch School. So, for example, the virtue of temperance, otherwise known as self-discipline. The word temperance too often means we associate it only with alcohol or not drinking, but it means broadly speaking self-discipline. And so, for example, in a finance class, our professor gives the students opportunities to practice self-discipline through investing in a mock investment account. Because one of the surest way to lose money on the stock market is to lose self-discipline and start chasing a declining market, for example. So there are deliberately exercises to test and practice their self-discipline. So that would be one example. Other examples would be things like growing in the virtue of friendship through a team project, for example.
Resilience in 118.
Yes.
We have our students launch businesses on the very first day, in
That
the very first class. Is that right?
that teaches, I'm not sure if it's exactly the first day, but it's early. You arrive at the Busch School, and within a very short period of time of getting here, in the first semester of your freshman year, you are each required to start a business. And that takes some guts, and so that gives you practice in the virtue of resilience, among other things, yeah.
And I think Andreas even has a homework assignment where he has them go somewhere where they know the answer is no, but they have to actually go and ask for,
There's nothing like being
goggles at
told no
Starbucks.
again and again to realize that it doesn't
You're
kill
still
you,
alive,
right?
yeah.
You're still alive, yeah, yeah.
So can you share a little bit about your book, Super Habits? Came out last year?
Last October,
24?
yes. So this was based in part on the work we had been doing on the virtues. And there are a number of very popular books about habits. So lots of people read about habits, focusing on growing in habits. But something we noticed was that all of this habits work tends to focus on habits of diet, exercise, and sleep. Right? If you think about people, the habits that they want to cultivate, it's usually something about diet, exercise, or sleep. But if you think about those three things, diet, exercise, sleep, that's what we have in common with the animals. Right? Animals eat, animals move, animals sleep. Yet the virtues are the habits that are unique to us human beings. They're the virtues of thinking, acting, and feeling. So we mentioned, so prudence or practical wisdom is the virtue of making wise decisions. Justice, habit of treating others fairly, is guides all of our actions. And then courage and self-discipline guide managing our feelings. They are at the heart of all human success. And so what I want to do is write a book to show, okay, it's all good to know about how to develop habits, but what you should really know most of all is which habits are the most important. And these ones, the virtues, are the most important habits. And so I wrote the book in large part based on bringing the writing of St. Thomas Aquinas on the virtues and marrying it with modern positive psychology, which studies all the virtues and shows how they are at the heart of all of our success, and they're going to put them together in the style of a self-help book,
Well, when I think of one of the super habits that you talk about in that book, and which I see exemplified pretty well, one of our all-star programs is our sales program, where we teach students resilience and fortitude, for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the success and incredible growth of that program, and kind of where do we see it going from here?
So the sales program, founded by Professor Mark Weber, who himself had a long and illustrious career in sales, has been so successful, we now place about a third of all of our graduates in some sales or sales-related career, which is pretty astounding when you think about it. Whenever we have a freshman class or a group of visiting families, I will ask the parents, how many of you have or have had a career in sales? And usually about a third of the parents will raise their hands. And then I'll say, and how many of you majored in sales? And it'll be nobody. And you wonder, well, why not? So our program has been hugely successful. Students make really good salaries coming out of the program. We have graduates from the program 3-4 years out making $300,000 to $500,000 a year, which is fabulous. Because higher education is expensive. We want our graduates to make good money when they come out, and that's certainly true with the sales program. We tend to focus on placing people in technology sales and medical device sales. Those are the kind of most demanding, most growing. And the program, like the rest of our program, is very interactive. So there's a lot of role playing. And so what we hear from our students is when they show up, what we hear actually from the hiring companies is when our students show up, they're ready compared to everybody else. They don't have to teach our graduates as much. And in fact, we've had several companies coming back and saying, can we have more? And we say, sorry, they all have jobs. Come back next year. You know, yeah.
100% placement rate, which is outstanding. Yeah. We also recently received a very generous donation from an alumnus, Patrick Naris and his wife Krista, as well as a couple of our board members, to hire a new sales director and program manager. Tell us a bit about that and what your hope is for growing the sales program even more from here.
So Pat was a graduate of the very first year of our sales program, and he really is in some sense a poster child for how successful one can be with this program. So he graduated, what?
2016, I think.
16? So yeah, so 9 years ago, and it's just been completely burning up the tracks and just phenomenally successful, moved from higher and higher positions of responsibility. And so what his investment and other board members of ours are going to allow us to hire more faculty and grow the sales program further. Sometimes it's hard for people to realize when they see the cost of tuition, but amazingly, the cost of the tuition alone does not pay for the costs of our education. We have to rely on philanthropy to make up the difference. And so with gifts like Pat's, what it does is allow us to hire ahead and bring in more faculty to meet the demand for this sales education.
Yeah, we really do have more interest from students than we have places for students and teachers to place to teach those students.
Yes.
So looking ahead at kind of the next year to 5 years, what are the key initiatives at the Busch School, and how can our supporters, alumni, friends, partners get involved?
Well, one is with the sales program. We actually have a $200,000 matching gift. So every dollar given towards that will be doubled. So that's will help continue to grow that sales program.
Thanks to Pat and Krista Naris. Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
And our Sioka Center, run by Professor Andreas Widmer, has been phenomenally successful in terms of giving entrepreneurship education to our students, launching a number of businesses through our venture lab. And they have a number of opportunities, areas there for growth, which we're excited about. Always a priority for us, but we're trying to make it even more of a priority, is making sure that no one is denied a Busch School education because they can't afford the full tuition. And so we have had some success with impact scholarships that make up the difference between what a student can afford and the amount of aid that we can afford to give them. And so we're trying to grow that program significantly as well. And then the last thing I mentioned is we have a thriving board of visitors. That's sort of an advisory board to me and to the school. The board contains some alumni from Catholic University, business and otherwise, but most are not. They're just people who love the mission of the Busch School of Business. Because as a 12-year-old school, we just don't have that many alumni who've already made hundreds of millions of dollars. But we're starting a kind of a junior version of that board, the sort of emerging leaders from our own, this is alumni only. And so we're looking for and going through, looking at our alumni, looking for the ideal folks who would want to join that. Again, in an advisory capacity as a way to stay connected to the Busch School and provide us input kind of from the front lines, if you will, to make sure we continue to be providing what our students need.
I'm really excited about that in particular. So, and finally, what are the signature events along the academic year that you would want to make our alumni and friends aware of?
So every year in October, we have our alumni weekend, which is always a fantastic time for alumni to come back and meet some current students as well as their old professors. We always love that weekend. Around November, we typically have our Catholic U on Wall Street event where we take our students to New York, visit a number of alumni in New York, and always looking to expand that as well. And then in April, every April, we have Founders Day, which is an exciting celebration of the birthday of the university.
Yeah, and twice a year also our Family Business Consortium.
That's right.
The first of which
and also our sales program have their twice a year the networking nights. Yeah.
So the sales networking reception and Family Business Consortium are usually around Cardinal weekend.
Yep, that's right. So if you're in town, you can hit all of those. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
My pleasure.